Universal is no longer just a record label. It's becoming Monopoly, the music industry's bully, buying up the independent artist infrastructure for our music distribution, for our music royalty collections. And they're almost weaponizing the copyright system. Is this legal warfare? Are these bully tactics? Do you guys remember like 6 months ago, I go, hey guys, I think Universal is quietly becoming a monopoly, if it's not already legally a monopoly. And we did a little research and we go, oh, interesting. They're just under the legal limit to be classified as a monopoly, not just here in the United States, but actually in Europe as well. And we looked at in 2024, Universal had 42% of the US market and 31% of Europe's market, and the antitrust cap, the when the red flags go up and the government comes in and yanks you apart and says you can't become bigger than you are. Well, for the US, it's when you take up about 50% of the market share, and then in Europe, it's 40%. So the point just being that we're like 8 percentage points away from, well, in both instances. Now, we look at this and we go, well, on top of this initial concern, because really what Universal has done, a lot of major record labels are doing this, but Universal in particular has acquired a ton of music catalog. They deal in the business of music catalog. And so as we've been talking about, well, they're doing all kinds of things to monetize their catalogs, and they're almost weaponizing the copyright system to go after big businesses where they can get potentially settlement, a big judgment, because there might have been some kind of oopsies that happened. So we've looked at a bunch of things, okay? What finally happened is that some people actually in Europe, I go, where are all my US people are upset, but let's start here. So there's an organization called IMPALA, and IMPALA is the Independent Music Companies Association, founded in 2000 by independent music companies and national trade associations. It's a nonprofit, and the mission is to grow the independent music sector sustainably, return more value to artists, promote diversity and entrepreneurship. Okay, love it, love it, love it. And they're in Europe. So they put out this open letter specifically having to do with Universal's acquisition of Downtown Music Holdings. And Downtown Music Holdings, obviously being the umbrella company that is the parent company to CD Baby and Songtrust and Curve and a whole bunch of companies that are part of the infrastructure for independent creators. And we go, why does that matter? That matters is because, well, where Universal started with, we're buying music catalog, and now we're essentially capped, because if we buy any more of the industry up, we're going to get flagged. The government's going to come and make a headache for us. Okay. So what they seem to be doing instead is that now they're buying infrastructure. So they're not buying music catalog anymore. They're just buying up all the platforms that you guys use, that we use as independent creators. And we go, well, that really makes us worried, because now these are the streams of distribution, royalty, collection, publishing, collection. So why is there a letter? And actually dated today, over 200 independent record labels and trade associations have raised significant concerns about Universal Music Group's acquisition of Downtown Music Holdings, which, P.S., was for a cool $775 million. These things take a long time. I'll tell you what, 11 years doing law, when we do an acquisition of a business, of a music catalog, of anything, it generally takes months and months and months, and sometimes even longer. That's why we've been talking about it for 6 months, and this thing still is not done. Deal is the latest in a line of serial acquisitions from Universal in the independent sector. Together, they have signed an open letter to the European Commission calling for a detailed investigation, phase 2, to be opened. A coalition of leading European and international independent music companies and trade associations have issued an open letter, okay, having to do with the Downtown Music Holdings acquisition. The letter, signed by 200 CEOs, founders, business leaders across the independent music industry, highlights serious concerns that the acquisition could threaten the effective competition, innovation, and growth of the EU's music industry. Okay, so they go, Universal, it's already the world's largest music company, controlling more than 40% of the recorded music market in Europe. Oh, that's interesting. Let me go to their update, because that was when we reported on this 6 months ago. So have they even gotten bigger? It sounds like they've gotten even bigger. So case in point. So we look at this and we go, all right, so if you're under the legal thresholds for the government to step in and now basically try to undo the monopoly that you are becoming, then buying up the infrastructure, well, is this really a big deal? Does it matter if they own, let's say, the distribution platforms that you are going through? What, of course, one of the fears about this is that truly, at some point, independent artists will have nowhere to go. Where number one, there's someone looking out for the independent artist, but number two, that it's not already controlled by major record labels. Because the other piece of this that we've looked at is we go, is anyone paying attention to the fact that Universal is also suing its competitors? Because as I can see, if Universal is in the business of buying music distribution platforms, and it just so happens to also have filed a $500 million lawsuit against TuneCore, music distributor TuneCore, I go, that's a coincidence. Is this legal warfare? Are these bully tactics, right? That they're going after other music businesses, claiming copyright infringement. I did a video for you guys when I was at the airport traveling to New Jersey. I had to do all these depositions, and I saw this article. I'm like, Universal filed another lawsuit. They're suing Wayback Machine, right? So website that captures websites over time. And so there will be a capture of what was on a certain website. And so the claim had just been the rights to some of the copyrighted stuff lapsed, and now you still have it in your database. And so technically, copyright infringement. So technically, you owe us hundreds of millions of dollars. Is this a bully tactic? Is this legal warfare? And then what's the real risk for independent artists here? Well, if Universal is owning distribution, royalty collection, and there's already such a huge issue with royalty collections and the billions of dollars that are being managed by private businesses, right? AKA music distributors. I don't think the situation's gonna only get better if major record labels are now owning the music distributors, but it already is a problem that we know that one of the best moneymakers in the music business are the different royalty channels. And so whoever is in the royalty channel, whoever is controlling the money is the one ultimately that's going to make the most. And so we go in just the kind of exploitation, the unfair practices. I can't imagine they're going to go in the better direction if we have a company like Universal actually owning the entire infrastructure for independent creators. Besides that, obviously you're going to be subject to, this is our biggest problem. We look at the terms of service for these different companies where they just basically say, take it or leave it. And then you have to take it because guess what? You're not allowed to upload your own music directly to these music platforms like Spotify. So you are forced into contracts with very unfair terms. So I go, again, does this get better or worse if the ecosystem that you rely on for the distribution and collection of royalties related to your music is now going to be owned by Universal? Now, obviously, look, I'm all about the sell before you stream method. This is something that you can guarantee you still make money on your own music because it's in you controlling the method of distribution. It's you controlling contact information for your fan base, right? So you never have to rely on a middleman. And I think as we're looking at these middlemen, as we're analyzing what's happening here, more and more, it is becoming so important that you protect yourself by actually looking in and doing the sell before you stream method. But actually, it truly is the number one way to make the most amount of money from your music, even if you still use platforms like Spotify and you play the game, so to speak, with what I like to call marketing by putting your music on streaming platforms, because you're probably not going to make too much money. So really, what are we saying? Universal is no longer just a record label. It's becoming the music industry's monopoly, the music industry's bully. And we're seeing these tactics, these legal tactics for them to slowly continue taking over. And now they're doing it from the inside out by actually buying up the independent artist infrastructure for our music distribution, for our music royalty collections. So all the more important that you sell before you stream, you DIY your own music, you stay in control, and you can start today. Go check out the video I have on the channel I just posted. It's sell before you stream.